Today we're going to talk about some mindfulness examples. Mindfulness is simply being in the present moment. Studies have found that mindfulness has positive impacts on both mental and physical health. Mindfulness has been shown to reduce anxiety, depression, help us to make healthier choices. And there's also evidence that mindfulness can even lower blood pressure and improve sleep. So many benefits for being mindful. You might know that I am a certified mindfulness coach, so I absolutely love talking about mindfulness. So what's the opposite of mindfulness? Have you ever driven to work and when you arrive, you have almost no memory of the actual drive at all? Our mind does have a tendency to wander. And so what's so wrong with that? Some things that we tend to do is we could be looking into the past. And this is perfectly fine when we're doing this intentionally. Maybe we're trying to apply something we learned in a similar situation to something we're going through now. Maybe we're thinking back at a beautiful memory and it's bringing us joy. Here's where we can kind of get into trouble. We can find ourselves kind of stuck in the past, maybe even repeating something over and over again, and it could be negative or positive because we could be focusing so much on our hardships and our trials, we're kind of stuck in that. Or we could be thinking about the good things, but in the good old days. Remember when I was so happy? Remember when I had this? Remember when I had that? And it really is better for our mental state to look at the goodness in our lives right now, no matter how small they may be, really starting to look around and finding the goodness, the joy, find some places for gratitude where we are right now. Sometimes we can find ourselves always looking at the future. I'll be happy when I get this raise. I'll be happy when I get the perfect job, get married, have kids, retire, and always seeing joy as something just out of reach that will come with the next milestone in our lives. And sometimes when we reach that milestone, we don't feel a lot different. And so we just find ourselves going on to the next goal. And the next goal, that one will bring me happiness. That one will bring me happiness. So I really want us to start thinking about if we feel stuck in the future or in the past, coming back and just finding some things that you're grateful for that bring you joy right now. So believe it or not, we can practice this with really simple tasks. And if we're mindful during these simple tasks, it trains our brain to keep being mindful in other tasks as well. So I like to start to find small things, and I like anything with water because one of my friends was telling me that she likes to show gratitude that she has running water, that it's clean water. So it could be washing dishes, it could be taking a shower, it could be brushing your teeth. And while you're doing this super simple task, I would start with, I'm just so grateful I have clean water, I have running water, I have hot water. And then start to notice things about the water. What temperature is the water? Is it too warm? Does it feel cool on your skin? How does it feel, the scrubby thing or your loofah? What does the soap smell like? What does the toothpaste taste like? What sounds do you hear right now? How are you feeling today? And so in all these simple tasks, we're just noticing all the senses, and it's really going to bring us to the present moment. So during any activities this week, if you see that your mind is wandering, that's perfectly fine and normal, but just take a second to bring yourself back to the present by noticing anything that you feel, see, hear, or smell, and it's going to take you back to the present moment. I actually really suggest starting with smaller activities and then kind of building up your practice. Eventually, we can apply these principles to help us respond to stressful circumstances rather than reacting to stressful circumstances. I do need to give a shout out to adaptive capsules and the MetaPower system here. Most of my life, I've been reactionary and pretty snippy. It's actually one of the things I like least about myself. And adaptive capsules and MetaPower have both helped me to just kind of stay calmer and process so that I have time to respond instead of just reacting. And when I react, it's not usually from my best self, to put it lightly. So mindfulness does this as well, but I think they actually work really well together. So this next week, or maybe the week after, maybe you're just starting with the simple tasks of dishes or whatever this week, and maybe the week after, we're starting to notice, when do we react poorly to something? What was your breath like? Was it short and shallow? Were you starting to feel hot? Were you gripping your fists or clenching your jaw or scrunching your shoulders? What happened in the body before you reacted in a way that maybe you weren't so proud of? And try to start to notice these feelings, because it's going to give you a little bit of signal that, oh my gosh, I'm about to react. It's probably not going to be what I want to say. I might regret this later. And then if you can even pinpoint the point in the conversation that really upset you, then you can kind of reflect and be like, how could I articulate what's on my mind that this did upset me, but in a calm way where you're actually responding? And you might even find that the same type of circumstance upsets you over and over. And now that you've recognized that, you can find a simple way to respond that's almost like the reaction that you attach to it. You know, a lot of times we talk about habits on this show, and we talk about linking that to something else that you're already doing. And so when it's short breath, heart racing, I feel warm, my hands are clenching, I have this automatic phrase that I know I can say that'll be calm and let people know that I'm getting a little bit upset, but I'm not taking it all the way to the reaction. So here's my example. I get really upset if I feel like I'm not being heard. And it can be something so tiny, but if I feel like I'm being ignored, I can go directly into fight or flight. And my body feels like it needs to protect itself, like it's in serious danger. And though I'm not perfect, I've gotten it to a place where I can usually say, I feel like I'm not being heard. So that's my phrase that I just connect to it. I feel like I'm not being heard. And so John knows right away to try to articulate back to me whatever point I was trying to make, even though he doesn't necessarily agree with that point. He's just showing me, yes, I heard this, and this, but here's my point. And as long as I feel like I've been heard, I'm fine with the discussion. It's just if I feel like I'm being ignored, I seriously can get reactionary quite quickly. And these steps have really allowed me, okay, I feel my heart racing. I feel my breath getting, I tend to be a breath holder actually. And I'm definitely getting hot. What's going on? Okay, I feel like I'm not being heard. I can feel that exact time in the conversation where I felt like what I said was not important enough to be heard. And so I just automatically say the phrase, I feel like I'm not being heard. And that gives us both times to kind of calm down and respond instead of react. So this has really, I mean, our relationship is amazing, but this has really helped our relationship, because I've definitely been snippy and said things that I didn't mean and regretted later. So these next few weeks, try to notice things that upset you and see if they have something in common. And is there a super easy phrase that you can say out loud that expresses how you are feeling, but it's more of a calmer response instead of a snippy reaction? And this part of mindfulness really is a lifelong journey, but it's so worth it for the relationships with others and honestly the relationship with yourself. I like myself so much more when I respond instead of react. Now, this activity is pretty advanced, and so if you want to start simple, start with gratitude. Whenever your mind starts to wander, just come back to the present moment with gratitude for something you can see, hear, feel, smell. I'm grateful for the sunshine on my skin. I'm grateful that I can hear birds singing. I'm grateful for my cat in my lap keeping me warm. Mindfulness is a practice. Show yourself grace as you learn to be more mindful. In episode 43, I give 3 tips for mindful eating. I'll link it in the show notes. This has actually really helped me to stop overeating and snacking when I'm not actually hungry. And it didn't exactly go with this episode, but I think it might trigger something, and it's an amazing episode if you want to apply mindfulness specifically to eating this next week or this next month. Please subscribe or follow, and I'll see you next time.